Returning now to one of our earlier stories, wealthy baby boomers could be asked to contribute more to aged care costs as part of a shake-up of funding for the sector. A federal government task force has advised that aged care service funding should be reformed to improve equity. Joining me now live is National Seniors Australia Chief Executive Grice. Chris, thanks for joining us. What's your response to this announcement?
Yeah, I guess we'll be watching very closely when the final report comes out at the end of January. But I guess in terms of this is really just now we're getting to the pointy end of the Royal Commission, which was back in 2019, 148 recommendations, and one of those was about funding. And so that's what the task force was all about, is basically coming up with some different solutions around funding aged care going forward. So we'll be watching very carefully. But it appears that the signalling that they're giving is that there will be some form of user pays in the recommendations that they're putting forward.
Well, at the moment, only about 4% of care costs in residential aged care are paid from user contributions. So, of course, that means 96% is covered by the taxpayers. Is it time to make this more sustainable for the long term?
Well, I think the current costs as far as funding aged care is up to 30 billion, and it's anticipated that that's going to leap in about 10 years to 60 billion, so it's going to double. So we have to come up with some sort of sustainable solution for funding aged care. It's something in which that I guess over successive governments the can's been kicked down the road. We're now getting to the point where we're going to create a great system for Australia. But it needs to be funded, it needs to be capitalised, and that's going to, I guess, at some point require some government to do most of the heavy lifting, but I guess there's going to have to be contributions in some shape or form for those who have the capacity to pay, and that is the most important thing.
So what should be on the table then? Because aged care is one of the top three pressures on the national budget. How do we look to bring those costs down?
Yeah, I guess from a National Seniors Australia perspective, and we were fortunate enough to put forward a submission to the task force, and there were a number of things that were put forward, including insurance, a levy, superannuation changes, and just straight fees. And I guess the most spiciest of all was in relation to a GST adjustment. It was still surprising that nearly 30% of a group that we recently surveyed, and the number of 10,000, so it was quite a substantial number. 30% of them had indicated that I guess a GST adjustment was still not entirely off the cards.
How do we make sure then, I guess, that the care and safety of the aged care sector is maintained, even though they are obviously looking to cut the budget when it comes to the aged care sector?
Transparency, accountability, that's critically important, and I guess that's where the new aged care commissioner being in place is very important to make sure that that oversight does exist, because obviously we don't want the issues that are plaguing the NDIS, and the government's done some great work to try and tighten that up, but I guess we don't want those similar issues creeping across into the aged care sector as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Fair enough. Grice, we'll leave it there. Thank you very much for joining us.